Am I the antagonist for telling my mother-in-law she needs to learn to let things go? I, 28-year-old female, have been married to my husband for 2 years. His mom is a sweet woman, but she drives me crazy by constantly trying to involve me in things that I have repeatedly stated I do not want to be involved in. The main issue is her insistence on getting me to convince my husband to have a relationship with his half-brother. According to my husband, they were never close and never considered each other siblings. He has made it clear that they will never be close and only shares this information with those he wants in his life. Others in the family have confirmed that his half-brother does the same thing. My mother-in-law is upset about the situation. They have no contact with each other, aren't friends on social media, and don't have each other's contact information. His half-brother wasn't even invited to our wedding. The only guaranteed time they see each other is on my mother-in-law's birthday, and Christmas is not a regular gathering for them. Even when they're at the same event, they only talk if necessary. In the past year, my mother-in-law has expressed to me how much it hurts her and her fear that they won't speak when she's gone. She believes that I could convince my husband to try to have a better relationship with his half-brother. I explained to her that it wouldn't be meaningful if it's only one-sided, and it's not just my husband who isn't interested. Despite this, she begged me and claimed she would give her kidney for them to reconcile. I told my husband about this, and he told her to stop. He asked her to let it go, but she said she couldn't. Last Wednesday, my mother-in-law called me and asked if we could invite her other son to my husband's birthday to see if they can make amends. I told her that my husband would hate that idea, so no. She insisted that I could convince him not to hate it, and she pleaded with me, explaining how much she needs me. I told her that she needs to learn to let things go and that it drives me crazy when she puts me in the middle. I made it clear that I am always on my husband's side. I warned her that she will push them away if she doesn't learn to let go. For the first time ever, my mother-in-law snapped at me. She said that I would be more sympathetic if I had kids of my own and that I can't understand her pain. She desperately wanted me to understand and ended the call, stating that she has no words for me right now. I felt guilty ever since because she sounded defeated and heartbroken, and I never wanted to hurt her like that. Am I the asshole? You have communicated your boundaries and made it clear to your mother-in-law that you are on your husband's side. It is not your responsibility to meddle in your husband's relationship with his half-brother, especially if he has made it clear that he does not want a close relationship with him. Your mother-in-law is being unfair by putting you in the middle and pressuring you to change your husband's mind. It is understandable that your mother-in-law is feeling hurt and desperate for a better relationship between her sons, but you are not obligated to fix their relationship for her. It is important for her to respect your husband's decision and focus on maintaining her own relationship with him, rather than trying to force him into a relationship he does not desire. Her comment about you not being able to understand her pain because you don't have kids was unfair and manipulative. Motherhood does not invalidate your feelings or stance on this issue. You have every right to set boundaries and prioritize your relationship with your husband. Overall, you have handled the situation appropriately by communicating your boundaries and remaining supportive of your husband. Am I the antagonist for telling my oldest daughter, 21F, that she needs to stop taking her frustration at my lackluster performance as a father on her sister, 4F? I, a 37-year-old male, have 2 daughters and a son. I had my oldest daughter, who is now 21 years old, when I was around 17. I had her brother at 20, and then my youngest daughter was born 4 years ago with my wife. I must admit that I wasn't a great father until I gained custody of my son when he was 3. I wasn't consistently present in my oldest daughter's life until she was around 10 years old when I moved closer to her. When she was 12, her mother passed away, and she came to live with me and my son. When my daughter turned 15, I married my current wife, and we had another baby a year later. I have made an effort to be a different and better father to my second daughter, giving her what my first daughter did not receive. However, there has been tension between my oldest daughter and me. She frequently becomes upset when she sees me being a parent to my youngest daughter, as she never had that experience. Unfortunately, she takes it out on my youngest daughter and is often unkind to her. While my youngest daughter adores her older sister, my oldest daughter has always been distant and cold towards her. Before my oldest daughter went off to college, I tried to foster a good relationship between the two of them. I made sure my oldest daughter wasn't forced to be a default babysitter, but encouraged them to spend time together. This tension reached a breaking point 2 nights ago when my oldest daughter visited, and we got into an argument. I was playing with my youngest daughter when my oldest daughter expressed her thoughts about how fortunate my youngest is to have this time with me, since she never had it. I didn't appreciate having this discussion in front of my youngest daughter. Despite being only 4 years old, she can sense tension even if she doesn't fully understand it. My oldest daughter kept pushing and escalating the pressure until she snapped. She expressed how unfair it is that I am there for my youngest daughter while I wasn't there for her. She said my youngest will never have to struggle like she and her mom did, and it's not fair that she gets to have a dad. I acknowledged that she had every right to be upset with me. I admitted that I failed to be there for her when she needed me, and I will forever feel remorseful for the damage I caused. I told her that no amount of apologies can undo what I have done, and I will never forgive myself for not providing her with the support she needed as a child. However, I also told her that she should not blame her sister for my inadequate actions. None of this was her fault, and she shouldn't have to contemplate these things until she's older. Our conversation escalated into a tearful yelling match, and she eventually stormed off to bed, threatening to leave in the morning. I genuinely feel terrible about the situation, but I believe I was not wrong to express my thoughts. There is a time and place for such discussions, and it wasn't in our living room while I was playing with my youngest daughter. I also believe I was right to tell my oldest daughter not to blame her little sister for my shortcomings. So am I the asshole? You are not wrong for expressing your remorse and acknowledging your past mistakes. It is important for your oldest daughter to understand that you recognize your shortcomings and that you are sincerely sorry for the impact it had on her. However, it is also understandable that your oldest daughter feels hurt and neglected, as she did not have the same level of fatherly involvement as your youngest daughter. She is entitled to her feelings, and it is crucial for you to validate and empathize with her. That being said, it is not fair for your oldest daughter to take her frustrations out on your youngest daughter or make her feel responsible for the situation. It is important to address this behavior and emphasize that your youngest daughter is not to blame. Moving forward, you should try to have open and honest conversations with your oldest daughter, outside of the presence of your youngest, to better understand her perspective and work towards healing the strained relationship between them. Therapy or counseling may also be beneficial for all parties involved to navigate through these complex emotions and establish healthier communication dynamics. Am I the antagonist for wanting my wife to clear out her late daughter's stuff to free up space for my daughter? I'm going to sound like a monster, but here goes. My wife and I blended our families 5 years ago. When we moved in together, she had 2 daughters, Mel, 16, and Molly, 12. I had 3 kids, Lola, 8, Brendan, 7, and Brian, 5. And we were expecting an ours baby. The house is fairly small, but we have 4 bedrooms. The master bedroom, a downstairs bedroom second master, and 2 smaller bedrooms. Due to space, we decided to put Lola in 1 bedroom, Brian and Brendan in 1 bedroom, and have Mel and Molly share the downstairs bedroom. The plan was that the baby would share with us for the first 2 years, and then move the baby into Lola's room and have Lola and Molly share. Mel would have moved out for college then and just share with them for breaks. Everything got thrown into chaos when Mel passed away a year into us living together. When it would have been time to think about moving rooms, my wife couldn't even think about touching her stuff, and it was unthinkable to ask. We had an accidental, but wanted, second ours baby, so we decided that Lola and the baby would just have to share for now. Our second ours is now 2, and is starting to need to not be sharing a room with my wife and I. I'm starting to think that it's time. I would never have asked at a year or even 2 years out, but now we're heading into year 4. I understand that it's a hard thought and seems callous, but the reality is that we don't have space to keep this up anymore. We need the space. The bedroom split is just not fair and hasn't been for years. Lola is almost a teenager and shouldn't be sharing with 1 toddler, let alone 2. There shouldn't be 3 kids sharing one of the smaller bedrooms and a total of now 5 kids sharing 1 bathroom. All this while 1 child gets a large bedroom and bathroom for herself? It's not reasonable. My wife and Molly are still resistant and say it's normal to not want to move things around even years later, and they don't want Mel's things taken from them, especially Molly. I get that, but we can't. It's just not realistic. Even if Mel was still with us, she wouldn't live with us anymore. The plan was always to move Lola into that room once Mel went off to college. Molly was never supposed to have her own room, and per the agreement made 4 years ago, Molly is getting all of Mel's stuff, so nothing is being taken from her. They're furious, and now the whole house is fighting. Lola is sick of her situation. Molly and my wife want nothing to change. And of course, I'm the evil bad guy who does everything wrong. Is this really that outrageous? It is understandable that you need to address the issue of space in your household, especially considering the age differences and the need for privacy as your children grow older. It is important to approach the situation with empathy and sensitivity, since your wife and Molly are still grieving the loss of Mel. While it may be difficult for them to consider rearranging rooms and moving Mel's belongings, it is necessary to ensure that everyone in the household has a fair and comfortable living space. It might be helpful to have an open and honest conversation with your wife and Molly about your concerns, emphasizing that the current living arrangement is not sustainable for the long term. You can acknowledge the emotional attachment to Mel's things, while also discussing the practical necessity of rearranging the bedrooms. Consider involving a family therapist or counselor to facilitate these discussions and help navigate the emotional dynamics within your blended family. It is crucial to ensure that everyone's needs and emotions are heard and respected during this process. Remember, finding a compromise that takes into account everyone's feelings and needs is essential for a harmonious living environment. Am I the antagonist? My neighbor is obsessed with leaves on her lawn, and we almost came to blows over it. We moved into our Midwest neighborhood about 5 years ago, and were immediately greeted by our warm neighbor. Let's call her Anne. Anne seemed nice enough, said she's so happy to see young people move in and that she's lived there for over 30 years with a handful of other neighbors. The very first night we slept at our house, we woke up to a note on our door from Anne saying the lights at the end of our driveway were way too bright. It was in permanent marker and underlined. We didn't install the lights but figured, what the heck, we'll change the bulbs. Best not to leave a bad first impression. We never heard from her again about the issue, but we would leave our house and notice she put up hefty bags over her windows facing the lights. Okay, fast forward to our first winter. She installed a plastic chicken wire fence right on our property line. I asked her one day what it was for and she said, "Oh, the previous owner would plow his driveway and the snow would get on my lawn." Mind you, this is a pretty small neighborhood. The houses are fairly close together. She's the only one with any fence on her lawn. Our bylaws clearly state she can't have anything except a professional permanent fence. Whatever, I let it go, and in the springtime she took it down anyway. Fast forward to the following winter, and the same fence goes up. One day I asked her why the fence went back up because we hadn't plowed any snow onto her property. She, almost angrily, says, "Well, you guys never clean up your leaves." I apologize and say we'll do a better job. Mind you, both my wife and I work full-time jobs and I'm disabled and constantly have trouble with my prosthetic leg. We pay a service to clean the leaves, so we call them back for further cleaning. The fence stayed up, taken down again in the springtime. Jump to October of last year and the fence goes up again. My wife insisted I not say anything until one day we were sitting in our living room and saw her blow leaves directly onto our driveway. I ran out there and confronted her calmly at first, and then could barely get a word in as she was unloading on me. I reminded her she's the only person on the block who rakes their leaves more than twice a season. Her fence is not only an eyesore, but all of the neighborhood's leaves get stopped onto my driveway because of it. She didn't care. Refuses to take it down. I've called the city and they told her she can have it but has to take it down after winter. Here we are, fall 2023. The fence is back up. I'm angrily watching her rake her leaves every single day, watching all the neighborhood's leaves stop on my driveway because of the fence. Some days I'll kick some leaves over to her side in anger. Am I the asshole? How would you guys handle a neighbor like this? You have made efforts to address the concerns brought up by your neighbor, such as changing the bulbs for the lights and trying to improve leaf cleanup. It appears that your neighbor, Anne, is the one who is unreasonably causing issues, such as installing an inappropriate fence and purposely blowing leaves onto your driveway. Your frustration and anger towards Anne's actions are understandable. However, kicking leaves onto her side in anger is not the most productive or mature way to handle the situation. Instead, it would be advisable to continue engaging with the city and the appropriate authorities to address the issue, as they have indicated that she needs to take down the fence after winter. Document any incidents or interactions with Anne, and consider communicating your concerns to her in a calm and respectful manner, reiterating the impact her fence has on your property. It might also be worth trying to involve other neighbors and collectively address the issue, as community support can be helpful in resolving conflicts. Would I be the antagonist if I asked my friend to stop looking at my patient file at my vet office? Recently, my close friend Chloe got a job as a veterinary technician at the veterinary office I take my horses to. I'm really happy for her because it's an industry she thrives in, but I've noticed it has given her some form of superiority complex over my knowledge and ability to care for my horses. Chloe has never owned a horse but has been riding and working with them off and on for a few years now. For context, I have 2 horses, Jean and Booger, and have collectively owned, ridden, shown, and worked with horses for 12 years. I have worked in barns for 8 years and have managed a separate barn training facility for 2 years. I have had Booger in my life the entire 12 years and Jean for 7 years. I'm not saying I am the expert in every single aspect of horse care and health, but I believe I have significant experience. And in the horse industry, learning never stops. Lately, I've noticed Chloe feels compelled to tell me what I should be doing to care for my horses, how I should be doing it, and when I should be doing it, completely unsolicited. At first, I didn't think much of it because she is that type of person by nature, and I don't mind it. But I realized she's been going into my patient file, reading through it, and using that information to tell me what I need to do. She started regurgitating information about my horses, or the care they had received at previous appointments that I had never disclosed to her. It has reached a point where Chloe will call or text me while she's at work just to talk about past vet visits, a horse's chart from when I used to own it, and even bringing up the events that led to the euthanizing of one of my childhood horses in 2020, which is still listed in my file. The death of my horse is an extremely sensitive subject for me, and I don't like to relive it because it was one of the worst days of my life. It's starting to really bother me because I don't appreciate how she feels entitled to try and almost parent my horses because she thinks she knows what's best for them. In the past, Chloe has watched and cared for my horses in terms of feeding, refilling water, and checking in on them when I was traveling. While I am extremely grateful for her help, her compassion, and knowing I can rely on her in a pinch, I don't like what's currently happening. I myself have worked in the horse industry long enough to have a formal enough education and an advanced skill set when it comes to equine first aid, and I know my horses like the back of my hand. I believe I don't need someone to tell me when to get certain care done for my animals, and I am capable of knowing why and when I should contact the veterinarian or farrier. Would I be rude if I asked Chloe to back off a little and stop trying to micromanage me and my animals? I know she thinks she's coming from a productive place, but I feel like she's crossed a line by going through my patient file without any valid reason. It is completely understandable for you to feel bothered and uncomfortable with Chloe's behavior. While it's great that she has found a job she enjoys, it does not give her the right to overstep boundaries and act as if she knows more about your horses than you do. Her constant unsolicited advice, going through your patient file, and bringing up sensitive subjects without your consent is invasive and disrespectful. You have a significant amount of experience and knowledge in the horse industry, and it is clear that you are more than capable of caring for your horses without Chloe's interference. Asking her to back off and stop micromanaging is a reasonable request. It is important to communicate your feelings and establish boundaries to maintain a healthy and respectful relationship. Would I be the antagonist if I tell my best friend to come without her daughter to my wedding dress stylist appointment? I, a 34-year-old female, will be getting married next summer. My fiancé and I have decided to have the wedding in my home country for simplicity. Next week I will be going there to make preparations, including visiting a stylist to choose my wedding dress. Accompanying me will be my mother, my best friend who is my maid of honor, 34 years old, and 2 close friends who will serve as bridesmaids. The issue arose yesterday when I asked them to go shopping for their dresses after the appointment. My best friend responded that it would depend on her 2-year-old daughter. Since the stylist is not in my hometown, my mother and best friend will have to come for the day. I was surprised to learn that my best friend wanted to bring her daughter. Although I live in a different country and do not see her frequently, I love her daughter. However, the problem is that her daughter is always running around, touching everything, and frequently screaming. I understand that it is normal for children of her age to be active. My concern is that if she brings her daughter, she will need to constantly chase after her. I fear that this may annoy the stylist, as well as my mother and friends. For some background, my best friend decided to withdraw from social interactions after becoming pregnant. The father is not involved, but that was her decision. This behavior only worsened after her daughter was born. She stays at home, does not want visitors, and only visits her parents so they can see their granddaughter for an hour. She stopped speaking to her brother and only sees her younger sister when necessary. She rarely leaves her house except to visit the park with her daughter. Despite my family's and my attempts to encourage her to go out with her daughter and interact with other children, she refuses. She is excited to be my maid of honor, but she does not assist me much, aside from sending me pictures of dresses for her daughter. The other bridesmaids are very helpful. If she brings her daughter to every meeting, it will be difficult to manage. Her parents frequently offer to take care of her daughter for a day, but she always declines. She is not willing to have one of our mutual friends babysit her daughter, even though our friend does not ask for payment, and her daughter enjoys spending time with her. I still want her to be a part of the wedding party. However, my fiancé objects because he believes she is taking advantage of me. I have lent her a significant amount of money since her daughter was born. He has suggested that I remove her from the wedding party if she insists on bringing her daughter to the stylist appointment. Now I am unsure of what to do. If she brings her daughter, I will be upset for the day, or rather the hour, as she doesn't even want to spend the whole day with me. And I don't want that to happen. So, my question is, would I be in the wrong if I ask her not to bring her daughter? It is your wedding day, and you have the right to ensure that everything goes smoothly and according to your preferences. It is understandable that you have concerns about her daughter's behavior and how it might affect the stylist, your mom, and the bridesmaids. However, it's important to approach this conversation with empathy and understanding. Acknowledge that you love her daughter and appreciate her as your MOH, but explain your concerns about the potential disruption at a stylist appointment. Offer alternatives, such as suggesting that she arranges for someone to watch her daughter during that time, or finding a compromise that works for both of you. Ultimately, the decision should be based on open communication and mutual understanding. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.